What does it really mean to step out on faith? Discover how understanding this has changed my life and how we can do the same for you. That's the topic for today. Hello, everyone. I'm Melbo, and welcome to the Faith and Fellowship Podcast, where we release a video every Thursday. Today, we'll explore how stepping out on faith it can really transform your life. To gain clarity, we'll look at Hebrews 11 and break down 5 key principles on stepping out on faith. Principle number 1, faith follows God's command. Abraham and Noah are prime examples of faith that follows God's commands. Their faith was not a blind step, but a response to clear instructions from God. In Hebrews, the 11th chapter, the 8th to the 10th verse, Abraham obeyed God's command to leave his homeland, trusting that God will fulfill his promises, even when asked to sacrifice his son Isaac, as mentioned in Hebrews 11, 17 through 19. Also, Noah built the ark by faith, following God's specific command, despite having no visible signs of a coming flood in Hebrews 11:7. Both men demonstrated that true faith is rooted in obeying God's clear word, showing that faith is not merely about stepping out, but about following God's command with trust and obedience. If you are uncertain that God is calling you to do something, or do not feel a strong sense of leading that God is talking to you and taking you in a certain direction, stepping out on faith is not for you. Principle number 2, faith is willing to wait for the fulfillment of promises. By faith, Abraham obeyed when he was called to go to a place where he would later receive an inheritance, even though he did not know where he was going, demonstrated in 11:8. This demonstrates that faith often requires action without completely understanding of the outcome. Abraham's journey highlights his trust in God, commands, and willingness to step into the unknown, believing that God's promises were worth the risk. See, we have to be aware of what we call fast food faith. It reflects a mindset of wanting instant results or quick fixes in our relationship with God. Similar to how fast food offers immediate gratification, it reflects a desire for quick answers to prayers, immediate blessings, or rapid spiritual growth without the patience, effort, or trust required to follow God's timing. This type of faith often leads to impatience with God's timing, seeking convenience in spiritual practices, conditional trust in God, and superficial growth. For example, frustration may arise when prayers are not immediately answered. Our faith may alter during trials if relief isn't instant. In contrast, crockpot faith, my type of faith, is enduring trusting in God's promises even when the results are seen and relying on his perfect timing. Avoiding fast food faith involves practicing patience, committing to consistent obedience, and seeking a deeper relationship with God, and valuing eternal rewards over temporary satisfaction. While fast food faith may feel easy, it often cannot be sustained with a deep, meaningful walk with God. True faith requires trust, patience, and perseverance, knowing that God's plan is always worth the wait. And if you're enjoying this video, stick with me until the end, and I'll share 3 practical steps you can take to develop a faith that endures and overcome the temptation for quick fixes. And while you're here, if you're enjoying this content, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you will never miss an update. Principle number 3, faith moves forward without the facts. See, stepping out on faith without having all the facts requires trust, courage, and a willingness to rely on God's guidance rather than your own understanding. It begins with seeking God's directions through prayer and studying his word to discern his will, often confirmed through scripture, wise counsel, and inner peace. For example, Abraham followed God's call to leave his homeland without knowing his destination, trusting in God's promises, as mentioned in Hebrews 11:8. Similarly, Moses stepped out in faith by confronting Pharaoh and leading the Israelites out of Egypt, relying on God's guidance despite not knowing how they would cross the Red Sea or survive in the wilderness. Trusting in God's character is essential, focusing on his faithfulness and remembering that his plans are for your good and his glory, as mentioned in Jeremiah 29:11. Taking the first step involves acting on what you do know, even if the path is unclear. Demonstrating that faith doesn't require having all the answers, but it do involve what you staying spiritually, mentally, and emotionally connected to God through prayer and scripture, trusting that he will provide for your needs along the way. Principle number 4, faith is willing to leave comfort zones. Faith calls for a readiness to step away from familiar, secure, and comfortable circumstances to follow God's call. It reflects a deep trust in his promises and his willingness to embrace the unknown for his purpose. Trusting God over things that are familiar means prioritizing faith in his plan rather than clinging to the safety of the known. Abraham exemplified this when he left his homeland to live in tents in a foreign land, trusting God to fulfill his promise of a better inheritance. By faith, he made his home in the promised land like a stranger in a foreign country. He lived in tents as did Isaac and Jacob, who were the heirs with him of that promise. This journey also required embracing the unknown, as Abraham had no roadmap or details about his destination, but relied on God's guidance and provision. Such faith often involves a willingness to sacrifice personal security or material comforts, as Abraham did, highlighting the temporary nature of earthly comforts compared to God's eternal promises. Ultimately, faith shifts focus from present comfort to God's greater plan, trusting that what lies ahead is far more rewarding than what is left behind. And the 5th principle is faith embraces the power of the supernatural. Faith involves a deep belief in the supernatural, where individuals trust in the unseen and the impossible, often transcending what can be understood or explained as by natural laws. It calls for a firm confidence in God's ability to intervene in a way that defies human logic, trusting that he works beyond human comprehension. As the saying goes, faith will command you to do something that you convince yourself could be done. This is exemplified in Hebrews 11 and 11, chapter 11 through the 12th verse, where Sarah, despite being past childbearing age, believed that God will fulfill his promise to her. So this illustrates that faith in God's promises can bring about the miraculous, even when circumstances seem impossible. In 2 Corinthians 5th chapter and the 7th verse, we are reminded, for we walk by faith, not by sight, emphasizing that true faith requires trusting in God's plan even when we cannot see the way forward. And if you got decisions you got to make and you feeling the need to step out on faith, I got 5 practical applications for you. Number 1, pray. Pray and ask God to guide you and lead you in your decision making. Number 2, fast. Give the Lord some personal time and some sacrifice. 3rd, go seek spiritual counsel from your church leadership or any religious leaders. Seek spiritual counsel. And 4, stay consistently in his word. Meditate on his word, read his word, study his word, and finally, step out and trust God. And if you made it this far in the video, that let me know you are serious on your faith journey. So if you like the video, you can always subscribe to the channel, hit that bell notification so you won't miss an episode, and leave a comment letting me know how you plan to step out on faith. So subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next video.